So with the US Open over for another year, we had some massive changes in the rankings, and you'd expect that after a Grand Slam because, of course, 2,000 points on the line for the men and the women. But let's go have a look at who actually won last week at the US Open because we did have some familiar champions. So starting on the women's side of things, of course, Sabalenka beating Anisimova in the final, 6-3, 7-6 to win her fourth Grand Slam in back-to-back US Opens. And then over on the men's side, Carlos Alcaraz taking out Sinner in 4 sets. 6-2, 3-6, 6-1, 6-4 to lift his 6th Grand Slam trophy and second in New York over the last 3 years. All right, let's have a look at the players outside the top 10 that got a boost in the rankings thanks to the US Open. Osaka, she went up 10 spots, number 14 in the world, really pushing back towards that top 10 where we all know she should be. Vondrousova also got a boost going up 24 spots to number 36. And Eala, she did win a match at the US Open, but also winning a tournament outside of the US Open in Guadalajara gave her a boost as well to 61 in the world, 14 spots higher than last week. So some players that are really doing well the last 2 weeks, getting a boost. Players that dropped down in the rankings, Navarro. She dropped down 7 spots, number 18 in the world after losing the points from last year's semi-final at the US Open. Haddad Maia also dropping points from this time last year, 5 spots lower to number 27. And Vekic, she dropped down 19 spots to 68 in the world after losing the points from last year's US Open as well. On the men's side of things, Auger-Aliassime, he went up 14 spots, number 13 in the world, so halved his ranking after a great run to the semifinals. Lehechka making the quarterfinals, goes to a career high number 16 in the world, which is 5 spots higher than last week. And Struff, he went up 46 spots back into the top 100 after having a really good run in New York as well. So it just shows how important, especially for the lower ranked players, having a couple of wins under your belt at a Grand Slam can really help your ranking. Players that went down to the rankings, Tiafoe, he went down 12 spots to 29 in the world after losing points from last year's semi-final. Borges also losing points from last year, going down 11 spots, number 52. And Thompson as well, going down 19 spots to 77. Both of those guys made it to the 4th round last year. So again, losing Grand Slam points can really hurt your ranking as well if you can't defend them from 12 months back. Okay, let's go have a look at the WTA rankings to start with because we did have some important changes. No change at the top though, with Sabalenka at 1 and Swiatek at 2. Gauff stays at 3. But Anisimova, she goes up to a career high number 4 in the world, 5 spots higher than last time after making the final of another Grand Slam. Andreeva stays at number 5 with Keys at 6. It pushed Pegula down to number 7, 3 spots lower because, of course, she made the final last year. Paolini stays at 8 with Zhang going down to number 9. And Raducanu still rounds out the top 10. And the top 10 is pretty solid because Raducanu is about 800 points in front of number 11, who is Alexandrova. So over the next couple of months, of course, we do still have some big tournaments left. It will be interesting to see how this shapes up as we get towards the end of the season. Over to the race of the finals, and still only the 2 players have qualified with Sabalenka at 1 and Swiatek at 2. Gauff stays at 3 and is just behind the qualification mark. But we did have some changes in the middle, with Anisimova going up 2 spots to number 4, pushing Keys down to number 5. Pegula went up 2 spots to number 6. Andreeva went down 2 spots to 7, and Raducanu went down a spot to number 8. Paolini stays at number 9, and Alexandrova at number 10. So, again, a lot of familiar names, and we are going to start seeing some players qualify over the next couple of weeks with the 1,000 events in Asia that are coming up, and then, of course, the WTA Finals will be happening to end the season. So, start seeing a lot of more names over the next few weeks qualifying for this event. Over on the men's side of things, we had a massive change up the top with Alcaraz regaining the number 1 spot over Sinner. They were playing in the final for that number 1 spot. The winner was going to take the top spot. So Sinner goes down to number 2 for the first time in over a year. And it's going to be interesting if Alcaraz can hang on to that number 1 spot for the rest of the season. Zverev, he stays at number 3. But Djokovic, he had a great run again in New York. Goes up 3 spots into that number 4 spot, pushing Fritz down to number 5. Shelton stays at 6 with Draper going down number 7. Demonor at 8 stays there for now. And there was a change on the bottom with Hashanov going down 1 spot to number 10 and Musetti going up to number 9 in his place. So very fun to see how the rankings have changed. And of course, Djokovic is not planning on playing the rest of the season. So he's only going to be playing, I think, 1 tournament that's going to have ranking points. So we'll see how Djokovic looks ranking-wise at the end of the year. But because he's been so good at the slams, he hasn't had to play anything else to stay up the top. But of course, the big news being Alcaraz being number 1 again. And with Sinner getting a lot of points to defend, or having a lot of points to defend towards the end of the year with the ATP Finals and in Shanghai, it will be really fun to see how they battle it out. Going to the race of the finals now, and still only the 2 guys that have qualified, with Alcaraz at 1 and Sinner at 2. But Djokovic, he goes up 2 spots to that number 3 spot. Even though he said that he's not going to play the end of year finals, we're still going to keep him in there because until somebody else qualifies or he officially withdraws, we'll keep him in that list for now. But he's at number 3, despite not being interested in playing the end of year finals. He pushes Zverev down to number 4, Shelton goes down to number 5, Fritz stays at 6. And then there was another change with Draper dropping down 2 spots, with de Minaur going up 1 spot and Musetti going up 1 spot in his place. Ruud drops out of the top 10 completely as Auger-Aliassime goes up 8 spots into that number 10 spot. So we're starting to get an interesting shape here of the ATP Finals race. And of course, with these big tournaments coming up over the next couple of months, more and more players are going to start to qualify. And with Djokovic not interested in playing this year, it's going to be fun to see who actually comes in at 9th. Because if you are number 9, like Draper is right now, that might be enough to get you qualified if Djokovic does officially withdraw in the next couple of weeks. So there it is. They are the rankings for this week. And of course, after a slam, there's always going to be massive changes. But let me know in the comments below. What's been the most interesting part of the rankings this week? Is it the top of the tree with Alcaraz and Sinner going back and forth? Can Sinner get back to number 1? Let me know down in the comments below on that as well. Because, of course, he's got all the work to do now after Alcaraz overtook him by winning the US Open. But there it is. They are the rankings for this week. And things are starting to really look interesting as we get to the end of the season.